Good morning.
Good morning.
We'll begin today's service with a prelude. Thank you. My name is Dennis, and I'm honored to serve as a worship associate for this service of the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of Charlotte County. We're also known as UUFCC. You are welcome here no matter who you are, no matter where you come from, no matter your background. You are welcome here to join us as we proclaim worth in our spiritual journeys. You are welcome to join us in community as we learn, live, and love together. We are glad that you've decided to spend this hour with us, whether it's here in this sanctuary or whether it's over YouTube. I wish to express my gratitude to the choir director, Janet, Ryan S., our pianist, and the UUFCC choir, those supporting technology, Tom and Corey, and the building and grounds team and all the others who care for our sacred home. I wish to thank our greeters and the coffee and snack preparers and all the others that have made this time special. As previously mentioned, this service is being broadcast live on YouTube. Consequently, to protect folks' privacy, it is our practice to use first names and, when necessary, last initials. The YouTube recording will also be available on the UUFCC YouTube channel after the service. I also would like to remind you of a couple simple procedures that will help our service and broadcasts run more smoothly. First, please silence your phones. I will try very hard at the end of the service to remind you to turn it back on. For those that are with us virtually, you may wish to have a chalice or candle available for our chalice lighting ritual. Following the service, we will gather in the fellowship hall for our social time. Coffee and snacks will be shared by our weekly volunteers, and you can sign up on the bulletin board in the social hall if you want to help out with hospitality in the future. If you are new here, please stand or wave your hand and state your first name and where you are from. Yes.
Hello, Kathleen from Cape Cod.
Welcome. Is that all? Okay. If you're viewing this service on YouTube and are unfamiliar with the fellowship but would like to learn more, email our administrator, Mary Jane, at office@uufcc.org or visit our website, again, at uufcc.org. Again, wherever you are, we're glad you've chosen to spend your time with us. Our opening hymn is number 346 in the gray hymnal, Come Sing a Song with Me. And now if you will open your gray hymnals to the back and you find number 416. It's the first reading under opening words. And I might mention at this point that Reverend Bird has requested these readings and songs today. Holy and beautiful, the custom which brings us together in the presence of the Most High, to face our ideals, to remember our loved ones in absence, to give thanks, to make confession, to offer forgiveness, and to be enlightened and to be strengthened. Through this quiet hour breathes the worship of ages, the cathedral music of history. 3 unseen guests attend: faith, hope, and love. Let all our hearts prepare them place. These words were by Robert French Levins. We will now open this sacred space by turning our attention to the chalice. The lighting of the chalice is a ritual that unites Unitarian Universalists everywhere. It is a symbol of so many of our values: love, guidance, courage, sacrifice, illumination, passion, and the light of community. No single interpretation is sacrosanct over the others. Like our faith, they are all inclusive and accepted. Now, if you'll recite with me our affirmation, and Helen will come up and light the chalice. Love is the spirit of this fellowship, and service is its law. This is our aspiration: to dwell together in peace, to seek truth in love, and to help one another. And now if you'll open the gray hymnals again, this time to the reading in the back, which is 443. And this is "We Arrive Out of Many Singular Rooms" by Kenneth Patton. I'll read the first lines, and then you respond, please, with the italics. We arrive out of many singular rooms, walking over the branching streets. We come to be assured that brothers and sisters surround us to restore their images in our eyes. We enlarge our voices in common speaking and singing. Our eyes reclaim the remembered faces. The voices stir the surrounding air. The warmth of our hands assures us, and the gladness of our spoken names. This is the reason of cities, of homes, of assemblies in the houses of worship. It is good to be with one another. It is good to be with one another. We have a long tradition at UUFCC of sharing our joys and sorrows and life milestones by entering into the Book of Life. The messages can be written in this book prior to the service. Ryan, would you bring up the Book of Life, please? For those that are you can write in this book before the service, as I said, or if you are at home, you can email it to the Book of Life at UUFCC.org. Thank you. All entries will be read by the worship associate during the Sunday morning service, And after that, those that were emailed will be entered into this actual red book. After I complete reading, we will enter into a moment of silence, followed by the hymn 123, Spirit of Life. This is from Shelley. I am thinking and sending comforting thoughts to my daughter Leslie and her family as they say goodbye to Stewie. Stewie has a wonderful, loving, and funny dog and will be greatly missed by all of us. Stewie passed peacefully at home Friday night, surrounded by his family. Most of us know Peg Stunkard. This past week, she was the featured singer in Amherst, Virginia Community Center, singing 3 songs. And of course, Peg is now 102. Please keep the people in Morocco in your thoughts and prayers after the earthquake, and Libya after the flooding, and the people who have been affected by Hurricane Lee. Also, Roxanne still remains in the hospital and would like visitors. She's at Shore Point in room 336.
331.
331, I'm sorry. Robert Spencer signed our UUFCC membership book this morning. So sorry missed over the ceremony last week. Please welcome him. Robert, would you put your hand up so there he is. May we hold these and unspoken joys and sorrows in our hearts. May we also hold one another in love and tenderness, so that this fellowship may be a source of strength and comfort, courage and hope in the days and weeks ahead. And now we will experience a time of silence, followed by the musical prayer, Spirit of Life. Bird Tetzlaff in person, but we have seen her via Zoom and now via, Corey, YouTube? She hails from the Midwest, and she is a storyteller, an artist, and an animal lover. She comes from a family of writers and has been active in a variety of social justice issues. She loves history, movies, good books, and figuring out how things work and how they might work better. Currently, she is retired and spends lots of time online with other disabled folks, helping to create community for shut-ins. Every once in a while, she gets to preach via Zoom. I have really enjoyed emailing back and forth to Reverend Bird, and I really hope that someday we'll get to meet her in person. Corey?
Hello, it's good to be here again. Today I'm preaching what makes us a little different, our heritage at work. Now, I was asked to come here and speak about welcoming, and I'm going to do that, but I'm going to be talking about something that I think makes us as a religious movement unique. And before I do so, I need to tell you a little about my background so that you understand where I'm coming from. I was raised in a church that I did not agree with, but still, I was pretty convinced that a church community was a good thing. So I always assumed that when I grew up, I would need to find a good church. When I went to college, I spent a good deal of time shopping around at different churches, and I often loved many of the congregations and or ministers. But when I heard the messages on Sunday morning, that didn't work so well for me. I didn't agree, so I just moved on until one day I walked into a Unitarian Universalist church. And I felt like for the first time, I had come home. Now, the minister happened to leave very shortly after I arrived, and the church had called an interim minister. That is, a minister who only serves the church for a year or two while the congregation is in search of a permanent minister. But that interim minister, he was astounding. He was a former Baptist preacher, and he was not above preaching hellfire and brimstone, UU style, which means there was no hellfire and no brimstone. But he was so fiery. Man, his sermons were so exciting. They made me think. And often he would present new ideas or ways of seeing that I had never encountered before. Seriously, I got high on them. I would spend the rest of the day mulling over what he said, often not agreeing, but it opened up new ideas and ways of seeing things and thinking about them. And I'd turn them over and over in my head till Wednesday or Thursday, and then Friday, I'd start getting excited because Sunday was coming up again, and I'd get another chance for another message. I fell in love with Unitarian Universalism, our heritage, our history, our way of being together without trying to convert each other. It was exhilarating. I found I loved being around people who thought differently than I did, but still shared the same values. It was eye-opening. Obviously, I joined, became a member, and participated in lots of different church activities. When I moved to another city, the first thing I did was look up a Unitarian Universalist church. And at first it was very odd because the new church did things in ways that I wasn't used to. Frankly, every UU church is very different from every other UU congregation because each church is idiosyncratic. Each church tries to meet the needs of its particular members. And so we all find new and different ways of doing church. Now, after I'd been a church member in various congregations for about 20 years, I decided to go to a seminary and become a minister. And that was a whole new ball of wax, a very different perspective of the church. Wow. I had a little trouble making the adjustment to the new way of seeing and understanding what ministry was. It isn't just preaching on a Sunday morning. Ministry is so much more than that. But I was unbelievably lucky because the church where I did my internship was a congregation that had some very peculiar and particular ideas about ministry. And I learned so much from them. For one thing, they believed in the ministry of the congregation. Now, back when I was a member of the church, not the minister, I used to take part in lots of church activities. Sometimes I'd teach Sunday school. Sometimes I'd work with others on social justice issues. I would often take adult religious education classes. I love going to potlucks and participating in discussion groups. But I never thought of any of that as being special or important, not really. I just thought it was something you did as a church member. I never thought that my participation in any church activity was ministry or that what I did as a member was ministry. But it was. When you have someone who makes coffee for the folks after the service, that's a form of ministry. That's caring for each other. When you have someone who cleans the church after an activity, that's the ministry of caring for our well-being. When you have someone who runs a sound system or teaches kids or helps out getting the church lawn mowed, it's all ministry. Because what is ministry? Ministry is actively caring about the well-being of each other. Minister is not something that just a minister does. It is what we are all called to do. Something as simple and fun as taking classes or participating in a service is a ministry. It helps make connections. Showing up on a Sunday morning is a ministry because it's a part of building community together. During the depth of COVID, many UU congregations really stepped up. In one church, a disabled member who had known what it was to be alone for long periods of time, well, that member figured out that isolating because of COVID was going to be very hard on a lot of folks. So she got a hold of a list of the members and friends, and she called every single person who lived alone and asked them if they wanted a daily phone call just so they could talk to a real live person at least once a day. Other members of the church offered to pick up groceries or medication or take folks to the doctor. That's ministry, folks, in action. And we are all called Many of our congregations decided during COVID to continue church services online. And then when the pandemic lessened, they decided to continue to offer that type of participation so that distant members or housebound members could still be part of the community. That's ministry, to not leave folks out. Sure, it's better to be at church in person. I'd much rather preach in person, but it's not always possible. And being online offers a way of still being part of the community. It says that we still matter, even if it's not perfect. Now, as UUs, we have a particular and peculiar heritage around ministry. Ministry for us has never been confined to just the ordained minister. Now, don't get me wrong. I fully acknowledge the advantage of having a trained individual who's committed to our heritage and our shared values. But as in any healthy congregation, in any denomination, ministry, caring for one another, is shared in UU churches. It's something we are all responsible for. And we call attention to that with our covenant. Our covenant is a promise, a call to shared ministry. I'm retired, and in my home church, where I am now a member, our minister every Sunday says something about how we are not a creedal church, but a covenantal church. Every single Sunday. It's part of the liturgy. At first, I wondered what the heck was he doing? Why bother bringing that up every week? But slowly, it seeped into me, and I got it. A covenant is a promise, an important promise. And our covenant is a promise that we make about how we will be with each other and how we want to be in the world. And in my congregation, the covenant goes something like this. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its law. To dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. This is our covenant. Sound familiar? Most UU churches have this or some version of it in their order of service. Some say it at the beginning, some save it for the end, but it's there. Sometimes it's just on the wall or back of the service, and it's okay. Because it's a promise that we make to each other. And we're encouraged to carry that out into the wider world as well. And being human, we mess up sometimes, every single one of us. We break that promise. We do or say something stupid or thoughtless. But we can try to make amends. And we enter again into the covenant, into right relationship. Going back into right relationship is important because it implies that we forgive one another for being human and that we care about one another enough to find our shared values. This isn't new. Around 1629, the covenant salem was created by our spiritual forebearers after a perilous journey across a wide and angry ocean. And when they docked, they wanted to build the church they'd always dreamed of. To quote my friend and colleague, the Reverend Chip Roush, knowing they would need each other to survive, eager to claim at last the task of creating a better world, they made the most powerful, most binding promise they could come up with. We covenant together. We covenant to journey together in truth and affection, as best we know how now or learn to in days to come, that we and our children may be fulfilled and speak to the world with words and actions of peace and goodwill. We covenant together. Wow. That's very powerful. A covenant implies that we are responsible not only to each other, but to higher shared values, something bigger than ourselves, and it is something to be taken seriously. Our higher shared values may be understood as God by some of us, but others understand it to be something that we as a community hold dear, something that we believe has importance, like caring for one another, like caring about our community, like caring about the value of peace and about the world we share with so many other life forms. But the concept of covenanting to journey together, that's really astounding. It means when someone goofs up, when they do or say something stupid, we don't throw them away. We actively want to be in right relationship. We don't give up on each other or the community. We try to make things better. We try to live up to our highest values together. Nice to know that when I goof up, I can be forgiven, that I can try again to keep the covenant, that I do not have to be perfect, just of goodwill. Now, the concept of covenanting grew and changed. In 1894, in the Unitarian Church in Evanston, Illinois, the Reverend James Blake wrote the following: "Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another." In 1937, included in our hymnal was a reading, an affirmation which was collected from various sources, and it went like this: "Love is the doctrine of our church, and the quest for truth its sacrament, and service is its prayer. We dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge in freedom, to serve mankind in fellowship to the end that all souls shall grow into harmony with the divine. Thus do we covenant with each other." Over time, the covenants have changed. They're not all the same, but there is a consistency running through them. And sometimes I like to look at the separate parts and variations and ponder what they mean to me. Love is the spirit of this church. Well, that means we care about each other. We are called to care about each other. And that's pretty easy for me because I really like Unitarian Universalists. Service is our law. We are invited to seek out ways to help one another in the community. We dwell together in peace. Well, we try. We're not asked to be the same. We don't vote the same. We don't think the same. But we are required to listen, perhaps, and to not just dismiss one another, and to disagree agreeably. And sometimes silence may be the better part of valor. But we are enjoined to care about each other, even when we hold wildly different points of view. And we don't always succeed. But when something's happened or someone says something upsetting, we try again to come together, to be in right relationship. We seek the truth with love. Now, this part, I confess I have trouble with because I'm not sure I believe in truth. But I do believe in understanding. And sometimes that's going to be very different because we honestly do not all think the same way. We don't all see the same things. We have not come to the same conclusions. But it doesn't matter because we can still care about one another and to help one another. Service. Maybe we call up someone when we hear they're in the hospital. Perhaps we pick up groceries for a shut-in, an offer of an occasional time of free babysitting for parents who have their hands full and could use a break. Perhaps we work together on a social justice project or share a ministry of music or poetry or brownies. The ministry of the entire congregation is to care about one another. Not because we all agree, not because we all have the same understanding, but because we all matter. There is an implied challenge in that. You might remember the words of a young politician who, after being sworn into office, spoke the following: "Ask not what your country can do for you. Rather ask what you can do for your country." It was so powerful. Because even if you voted for the opposition, you were still invited to participate. We were invited to look for ways to serve. That called us to work for our country, to see how we could make our country and the world a better place. And the same is true for our congregations. We are all called to ministry, to each other and to the world, every one of us. And in our congregations, we are called to care, to share our gifts. And as it happens, the more we give, the more we will get out of it. The more the church will meet the needs of its members, and the more that each one of us will be part of its ministry. So, for those of you who may be new, welcome. welcome to this congregation. We invite you to be a part of its ministry. We invite you to reach out and share your gifts of wonder, your thoughts and thoughtfulness, your caring. We invite you to share your joys and concerns, your questions, your struggles, to be a part of this congregation's heritage, to be a part of its ministry. And for those of you who are not new, who have been a part of this community for some time, welcome. Welcome to you for all the gifts you have shared, your gifts of teaching and learning, your gifts of cleaning or lawn mowing or coffee making. Thank you for your presence, your thoughts, your words, and the work which has built this community and made it available and viable. Thank you for what you have created. Welcome to all as we journey together on this, our heritage of shared ministry. So be it.
In our tradition, congregations exist because of the generous support of members and friends. It is our privilege and our responsibility to ensure the health and future of this fellowship. To this end, your offerings to support the ministry of this fellowship, whether by pledge or donation, may be offered online. There are several ways you can give. You can drop your donation in the baskets that are being passed around by the greeters. You can mail checks to the office, drop them in the mailbox, or call the office to make other arrangements. We are also equipped to accept donations through the Venmo app. Payments through this app should be made to UUFCC offering. You can also have your bank automatically send a check to the fellowship each month. Your generosity is always appreciated. And if you're with us for the first time, do not feel obligated to give. Your presence is gift enough. And now Ryan will play the offering music. Now it's time to highlight UUFCC's special events and activities. Please remember to check your weekly updates, which include a calendar and links for connecting via Zoom or in person. Additionally, if you would like to have fellowship events highlighted during the service, you can email the worship associates at bookoflife@uufcc.org. Today I have several. Please join us after the service to celebrate all our September birthdays. It's Birthday Cake Sunday. Happy birthday to Richard B. and Mary Holly A. and Betty B. and Cassandra W. and Laura A. and George C. and Tom D. If you are missing from the list, please let the office know. And if you'd like to be recognized next year, believe me, the cake is delicious. A correction, my chalice group does not meet tomorrow. It meets a week from tomorrow. But Kay Azar's chalice circle does meet tomorrow. The men's coffee is at 8 a.m. on Tuesday. And Wednesday at 4, there's an immigration justice meeting. Beginning this Sunday, Ryan Richardson will be organizing a lunch bunch opportunity for going out to eat. He'll be announcing the venue and getting a count of interested people each Sunday right before the service. I know many of us missed the lunch bunch from years ago, and it should be fun. Today, the restaurant is Chef's, and I'm correct, it's right up here in the Walmart shopping center. Okay. PFLAG will meet Monday, September 18th from 6 to 7. And there'll be a speaker at that meeting from Equality, Florida. And then there's a trip to Immokalee on Thursday, September 28th. For those that are signed up, there's a carpool leaving from here. And those that are signed up, be here by 8:30 sharp. And then look at the weekly updates for next week's weekly updates for more information. Ted, can people still sign up for? Absolutely. Okay. If you've never been to Immokalee, I strongly encourage you to go. It's an amazing trip. Another thing that's just started is Trudy and let's see, who else was involved? Trudy and Sandy started a UUFCC art studio. It's Wednesday afternoons, and you can bring paints and pencils or canvas. I brought crayons and watercolor pencils. And I must say that I love art, and I've always loved doing art, but it's been a long time since I've been doing it. And lo and behold, Wednesday I got back into it, and it made me very happy. So if you're interested, please come. Now, there's not formal instruction. It's just a time where people come together to create. And let's see. The fellowship snack schedule, which is very important to all of us, I know, has been posted on the bulletin board for sign up through December. So bring snacks, make coffee, and clean up. Our next hymn is 354. We laugh, we cry. And please stand. I'm sorry? 318. Sorry, it's 318. And now we will extinguish the chalice. Helen will come forward. And remember that the light of hope, the fire of commitment, and the warmth of community will sustain and nurture you until we meet again. And now we'll have a benediction from Reverend Bird. Yes, we will.
Our final words are from the Reverend Chip Rausch. Our circumstances have changed over years and centuries. While the specific concerns come and go, our lives are still complex combinations of peril and promise, joy and sorrow, horror and awe-inspiring moments of sacrifice and love. Through all of that, we still gather together, knowing that we need each other to thrive. We still promise, using the strongest language we can think of, to journey together, supporting and challenging each other to be more ethical, more compassionate, and more courageous as we serve the world with words and action of peace and goodwill. We ask our partners on these journeys to keep their promises and to hold us accountable for the promises we make. As were our spiritual ancestors for century upon century, we are promise-making, promise-breaking, and promise-keeping peoples. So may we be.
Program is our covenant, and we're going to read it in unison. We, the members of UUFCC, covenant to support and cherish all members and friends, and encourage each other to honor these high standards of relationship. We respect each other's views, backgrounds, and spiritual beliefs. We value a free, open, and mutually respectful freedom of expression. We will judgment or interruption and speak directly with the person instead of about a person. We will be considerate people and personalities. We will be considerate but courageous in naming action that diminishes our community. We offer forgiveness and understanding and expect that from each other. In all situations, we strive to respect everyone's dignity and well-being. We trust this covenant will help us work well together to make decisions, solve problems, and express differences of opinion in a considerate, respectful, and genuinely caring way. Thank you. And now we will sing We Laugh, We Cry. Verses 1 and 4. It's hymn 354. before Ryan plays the postlude, I just want to remind you to turn on your phones.
I don't